I don't think it is. It's not actually the Windows background.
Hmm.
It's just looks like it.
It's like an Skype variation.
Skyberish. Probably there's some sort of copyright infringement with that. Should we just jump into it?
Okay.
Trace.
Yeah. What do you have? I always start like heavy.
Do you always start? Okay, well, I'll start here. Trace, All Simultaneously is the first song on that album.
Yes.
Um, I wrote that it's the second best or the best song that we did together.
Well,
Second
heavy,
best or
heavy
best.
statement. Huh?
I think it's really good. It's got a lovely feel. Nice horn mix.
Hmm.
Oh, now I'm getting echo.
Oh, sorry. I put you too loud because of some noises outside. I'm gonna close the window.
Okay.
Oh. Okay.
So yeah, nice horn mix. This is I think one of the first Trace songs that we did.
It
Is that
was, yeah. I remember. So I remember I had like a. Well, I remember between Tress and Illusions, there was like a big span of time in between, right? This is an
yeah?
investigation we're doing here.
It looks like I'm peering into like a treasure chest and there's gold inside. Um, so yes, there was a big gap in between because when we made this record, I moved 4 times while we were making this record, and I let's see what else.
That's not the reason, though. I don't think that.
No, I mean it's but it this record took the longest of all the records to make.
Sure, but none of them really took that long. I mean, this might have been like, well, the
This
longest this one was like half a year, right?
I think it was more like a year almost.
Oh, really? Hmm.
Yeah, I think it was more like a year.
But we took a year extra in between the albums or something.
They
Did
were they were 2017, 2018, 2019.
really?
Yeah, we were able to do one a year at that clip.
So this one was 19, but at the end, right?
This was it came out in November of 2019. Does
Hmm.
that sound right? Or was
Yeah, yeah.
it
Sounds right.
September? It was November or September,
I think in November. Yeah.
or maybe it was October. No,
Good
I
for
think
you.
it was November. I have no idea. Okay, so yeah, it took a long time. I moved a lot and was like just had so many different mental states and different like mind states, and like making this record took a long time and took a lot out of me, I think.
Damn. Well, yeah, I mean, it was kind of, it was kind of hard to work on it.
Yeah, it was hard. I don't know why.
I don't know either. Well, I think I did have some notes at the end, trying to see why. I think, I guess at the beginning when we collabed, I didn't have any albums out, and it was also a way to collab with someone that had more experience writing and mixing songs and stuff like that, And then in this album, I remember I was always thinking about, okay, so do I give a new song that I come up to the project, or do I keep it for a project of mine, And so I think that made it harder for the process of our collaboration. I think because at least I was thinking of, okay, so what do I wanna mix and produce and follow this idea that I have right now, or do I want it to be a collaboration thing? So yeah.
But then I think through this project, you were able to figure out how to do your own solo records and how you wanted them to go, because you were using this one as like a test ground. You could test ideas and stuff, and like as far as like with mixing and like stuff like that, like stuff that I was doing that you probably didn't like as far as like mixing things, like you were able to switch and do like differently in your own records. And like I think that's kind of important, you know, when you collaborate, you can sort of figure out, like, if I called all the shots, what would I do, you know?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, I did that I did that with, alongside illusions and threads. Yeah.
So going back to all simultaneously, I think the lyrics of this one were the most labored over of all the lyrics of all the songs that we wrote.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember. So I think it's a cool dialogue we have going on. Um, and I like the open closed window metaphor we had going on that one, which kind of makes sense if you put it in in the context of our collaboration. You know, the internet was kind of like the screen of the computer was kind of the window.
The window
that we collaborated on, and there's also, I guess, well, we did this kind of thing of the dentist. Well, so the song started with this kind of like dentist-patient relationship that was kind of like weird, and you know, the patient was kind of obsessed with his dentist, which I think there's something about how, you know, the coldness of you know, the doctor's office sometimes, you know, and how that contradicts the closeness of the of touch that you have with the doctor. You know, it's kind of like it is a weird contradiction, and I think that
doctors back in the day, like historically, would come to your house.
Yeah.
You know, like to go to the doctor's office was like more of a rarity. Like doctors had to travel around a bunch, and it's interesting that shifted sometime in the 20th century.
It's true, yeah. And I mean, today it's still kind of common, but I think way less now than back in the day. But you know, I think back in the day it was more common to have like one doctor that you've always, you know, it's kind of, you know, it can even kind of become your friend because you.
The town doctor was like,
town doctor,
you know,
right? Yeah.
Small towns, like there was like one doctor in every little small town.
Yeah.
Because it was harder to teach medicine, I think, and it was harder for people to like know medicine, and
Sure.
you know, information traveled a lot slower back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it's also the how things are structured when things get bigger. You know, you get it's just kind of like inevitably it becomes kind of like a farm city, kind of like if a city was a farm, and you go into the queue to get your shit checked out, you know, but you're just one more. You just become one more in the mist.
That's definitely how it feels, the medical system. Definitely coming from somebody who's been has had to do a lot with doctors and medical stuff. Yeah, you just feel like you're just like in the queue, and you're just kind of, they're just going down the line and going to see each. And usually doctors like try to keep their visits really short with you because they want to see as many patients as possible so they can, at least here in America, make as much money as possible. But why did we get on the subject of doctors? Is, you know, if we're talking about all simultaneously, because you're saying that doctor-patient relationship is talked a little bit about how that relationship is sort of one where you'd think that it would be more intimate, but it's actually because it's not intimate, because it's you know, they're just trying to see as many patients as possible, especially with a dentist. It's like just sit in the chair and open up your mouth, and they get to work.
And it's such a private thing, right? Like they're touching in the inside of your mouth, but then it's like, okay,
oh, weird.
You know, And so I think that's
Their
why.
fingers in your mouth.
Yeah. What?
If their fingers in your mouth.
Exactly. I mean, and then it's kind of like I think I that's why the character kind of the idea of the song comes from that, because it's I think it could be natural for a patient to become quote unquote obsessed with the doctor, because
Yeah.
it's kind of like I guess you expect more of a friendly interaction,
Did I ever tell you what the song made me think of when because you wrote the line about the doctor and the dentist and the patient?
Yeah.
It made me think of that movie that Inarritu did.
Oh.
Babel?
Oh yeah.
Babel?
Babel. Yeah, Babel.
Babel. And the scene, have you seen that film?
A long time ago, but yeah, I remember it was kind of like the separate lives, right? And
Separate lives all over the world and like united by these random kind of sort of terrible events, sort of bring them all together. But there's like a young Japanese girl who I think she like tries to like kiss her doctor in like this one scene.
oh, I
Remember,
forgot.
she's troubled. I don't want to spoil anything in the movie, but that reminded me of that for some reason. Just
Yeah.
like because it's dentist vibe.
Definitely.
Yeah. All simultaneously, I really love the mix. I really think the mix turned out really well. The way the vocals were mixed, I think, is really fascinating and really cool. I think that was when I first discovered Phat, PHAT FX on Logic.
What? F what?
PHAT, fat with the PH effects.
What is that? I don't even know.
You don't even know what that is. It's a effects plugin on Logic that you can really do a lot of interesting stuff with, because it has one of those, like, I don't know if they call it like a dynamic equalizer or whatever, like where you can move around the little dot in the grid.
Yeah.
And you get really crazy sounds with that. And then you can just dial in just like filters and phasers and flange and all kinds of stuff. And so I was like really playing with that a lot on the vocals on at least that song. I don't know if it happened probably on other songs, but to a lesser effect. But that was really fun discovering that, because now I put that thing on everything now. I mean, vocals, synth parts, guitars, basses, drums, whatever. I put it on everything now because there's so many different. You can do a lot with it. I think it was a newer plugin at the time.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's a really cool song. I think it's a very emotional and strong song.
Yeah, I mean, let me see if I have anything else. Well, I remember there were monkey noises in the like intro part that were deleted, and I remember when I made kind of the rhythm of the song, because there was two versions of the song at the beginning with different rhythms, basically. That was kind of the main difference in the song between the versions, and you liked more the one that was kind of like, I still couldn't, I guess in that new version I couldn't really fit the lyrics, the melody in yet, but it was kind of like a 3/4 bossa feel, and I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
Do you have that anywhere?
The versions, yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Of that, I want to hear that sometime just to see what might have been, because that's interesting. Yeah, I think there was an issue with.
No, but it ended up being the 3/4
Oh no, I mean the alternate version. I mean.
Yeah, the other one. And I remember Nelson said something like he said it kind of felt awful, kind of the feel didn't work at all. And I think it was because we didn't yet put the vocals where they needed to be, the melody. But then it did work out nicely. I really like the song. I like how it sounds.
I do too. It's one of the best things that we created together. Yeah, I really enjoyed listening back to it.
It's nice, yeah.
Okay. Good on that one?
I think we're good.
I'm just now realizing that I never checked the audio. I just want to see if it worked out. I don't think it is. It's not actually the Windows background. It's that's sounding good so far. Let's see what else. Okay. Sorry. Now, Milagro.
Milagro, yeah. I think we also talked a lot about the lyrics on this one. Like I think and I remember the meeting with it on WhatsApp on a WhatsApp call, and it was a long call. I don't know, maybe one of those like 3-4 hours long or something.
One of those 3-4 hour calls, yeah. A lot of those though.
A lot of them, yeah. It's how it works.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. People don't want to do the work. You have to put the work in to make stuff. I mean, we're doing this interview on a Sunday.
Exactly.
People don't want to work on a Sunday anyway. Milagro. We talked a lot about the lyrics. Yes. I think what was the whole vibe with the lyrics was that we wanted it to. Well, I think this record in general, if we're talking about lyrics, I think on this record I was very anal about the lyrics. Like this was the only record where I was really like serious about the poetry of the lyrics needed to be sound, and like the grammar needed to be sound, so that they all felt like very cohesive songs that like native English speakers wouldn't like, be like, what the hell's going on with this? I don't know why this record I picked in general for that, but I did.
Did you start thinking about it once? Did you get any backlash from your friends or something about the other ones, or?
No, it was just that I think on this one I wanted to try that approach of like because like the first 2 records I was really lax with like I just let you like whatever you wrote, even if the grammar was crazy, I like allowed that to be part of the poetry. And I'm sure on this album some things slipped through the cracks, but like for the most part, like every block of lyrics I had like very understood. Like I wrote out and I like corrected grammar on and did like we did multiple edits and talked about like each verse and each chorus like intensely until we like every song. I think every song could be a bit of poetry in a book and be, I mean, I could say that for all the songs, but I think this one in particular, I just was very strict about the grammar. But who knows? Maybe that makes you not enjoy the record as much.
Me, no, I think it's good. I remember. I remember we started very intense spot on the lyrics, but then I think it gradually I just left it to you really in most of the songs. The lyrics I started to not care as much, and also I also started not to wanna. I don't know. It's funny. I think I think it is a mixed bag in this one. I think when we started the first record, it was kind of more of my first ideas that we developed. Illusions is kind of like more of a mixed bag, and this one as well. But it's true that this one I just didn't do much of lyrics for whatever reason. I wasn't feeling like I don't know why.
Well, you were working on, I think, 2 different solo records at the time, so maybe it was just your focus was on the lyrics of those records, or I'm not sure. It's funny. So you started to care less about lyrics, and I started to care more about lyrics, which is very unusual for me because I normally don't care that much. But I think something told me like to really labor over the lyrics on this one.
Yeah.
Like we're doing now. So I think there's really cool guitar riffs on this song in particular.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that the guitars are slightly out of tune, especially because they're doubled. They're just slightly out of tune, which is, I think, that comes from like a Brazilian tradition, if I'm not
That's
mistaken. Yeah, but it comes off nicely, and it does fit the aesthetic of the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a groovy song. Nice sax solo on this one. The sax kind of on the outro. And I love the we had Chie-san do the ba ba.
Remember that? Yeah. Yeah. It's very. It's kind of funny. It's kind of like if we, all of the kind of Brazilian influence, we kind of made like in this album. I think this album is full of kind of jazz standards with weird mixing, with kind of like experimental mixes, and it's very funny because some of the songs like this one could be like a jazz standard or something.
I feel that way about, I think all the songs, like the songs themselves on this album are so strong. Like
very strong compositions
out of the compositions were the most thought out and worked through, and I think it does. You could take any of these songs and do them, like jazz standards, or do them like anybody could do these songs, I think, and probably do really interesting. I would love to hear like an album where it was like all different artists playing every song on this record.
It'd be pretty interesting, yeah.
That'd be really cool. That's reserved for people in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is, we're just not there yet.
Not there.
Anything else about Milagro?
Well, I when I listened to this one, I started thinking that I remember the album to be bad, to be really hard to listen to, and then after this song, I was thinking, well, maybe it's not that bad. I actually I'm enjoying it. So
I think as time passes, we're going to look on all the work that we've done with a lot kinder eyes, just because you have to appreciate the journey. You have to appreciate the road is long, and that you're doing the best you can with what you know at the time. And sometimes, and this happened several times in this record, when I was listening back to this one today, I was shocked at some of the decisions we made were like really cool decisions on some things, and we'll get into that as we get deeper into the album.
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. Exposed.
Yeah, so I remember you started with an idea of yours. It sounds very lo-fi, very chill, very of the indie era kind of vibe. Like singing backing vocals on this one, playing synth. Thank you.
The synth's nice, really mellow. So what I remember about this song was that I recorded it and did the vocals on like the coldest day ever that I've ever experienced. And I'm actually going to do a conversion here. So Fahrenheit to Celsius, so that you can understand how cold it was.
Great.
So it was negative.
Only time you've ever translated the temperature from Fahrenheit to Celsius ever in our collaboration. You've talked about how cold it was. I've never understood how cold it was.
Well, here we go. So it was negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh my.
So that means it was negative 45.5 degrees Celsius.
Oh, that's very similar. I thought it was going to be...
I'm surprised that it's very similar. That doesn't make sense.
Too similar, right? Or what?
Maybe after a certain... Well, now we're getting into some science type stuff, because I'm looking at this. So the freezing point is 32 degrees Fahrenheit. The freezing point in Celsius is 0 degrees.
It's zero.
So the Celsius makes a lot of sense. it's 0 degrees Celsius. It's freezing.
That's
And then
freezing.
everything below that. But then everything below that doesn't make sense. Because if you go 0, okay, so negative, okay, so 0 degrees Fahrenheit is negative 17 degrees Celsius, but then negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit is negative 40 degrees Celsius.
It's kind of exponential or something.
Why is it that they match up at a certain point?
Might be of I don't know. It might be one of them might be kind of changing exponentially instead of equally in each degree or something.
Somebody who understands this and also math would have to explain what parity means.
We need,
We're just going to learn in real time. The state or condition of being equal, especially regarding status or pay. That makes sense. In mathematics, parity is of a number of fact, or the number of the fact of being even or odd. Okay, well, whatever. We're getting into weird stuff now, but negative 45 degrees Celsius. That's how cold it was.
That's awful.
So that's extremely cold. It was very cold, and in that winter, it was like that a couple of days. It was like just brutally cold in Wisconsin, where I was living at the time. So yeah, I recorded the guitar and the vocal on that day, and I just remember just like feeling the lyrics really heavily, because the lyrics are all about what happens when relationships are tested by outside forces such as the elements, and definitely we talk about the cold in that one. Makes me very sad, very, very emotional. But the mix is interesting. The mix makes me cringe a lot, because I feel like there's some certain frequency, like in the vocals in particular, that just needs to be like liberated from some like lo-fi hell that it's living in. Like there's, I don't know what we would have at a boost to make it like just a little bit more present, because like but maybe that's the aesthetic, and maybe that's why it's like some people like the song, because it feels like that vocal is buried like within the mix too much.
Well, yeah, I guess that fits in within honest aesthetic. I could prefer more present myself too, but but I think the main issue really with the album is the sibilance in the whole album, and I think maybe this track, the vocals are kind of like lower than they should be, just because if they were where they should be, the sibilance could be insufferable. You know what I mean?
They could be what?
It could be insufferable. Can you say that?
Oh yeah, insane. It'd be insane. Yeah, they'd be. You wouldn't be able to listen to that. We fought the sibilance a lot, and I remember we used a lot of de-esser on this record, which I think buried a lot of the vocals, sadly. And I remember rolling off every time there was a hard S. I remember automating the vocal line with just a little dip for every hard S on the whole record. So every time there's an S sound on this record, I remember doing that.
Did that, but I think that there was so you were kind of influenced by the Taylor the Creator album, the mix on that one. I remember that, the not the last one, but the one before. What is it? Igor,
yeah.
Yeah, so you were kind of influenced with the sound that he went for, and so
yeah.
You did a lot of very like a lot of highs and a lot of lows and stuff like that.
A lot of highs, a lot of lows.
And so I think with that, then after that choice was made, we wanted to fix that kind of sibilance because of those really high highs in the mix in general. And so that made it harder to really spot them on. Yeah.
It was definitely a mixing crisis on this record, which is sad, because I think the songs are so fucking good. I mean, the songs really stayed with a lot of people. I really feel like most people that worked on this record or listened to it, the song stayed with them to the point where I hear about them. And And they do these songs, like people will do covers of these songs, and like we've both done, I think, versions of some of these songs, right? Or at some point, I mean, I definitely played a couple of these songs on various shows.
Yeah, me too. But I didn't know people who made a cover. I haven't seen any.
I mean, maybe not recorded, but I think some people have played some of these. I don't know.
Are
No
you
one
like
has
imagining
played
it, or like
what?
are you imagining it? Is it
In
an
my own
imagination?
fantasy, everyone's just covering the hell out of Trace. So, I want to talk about the counter melody of Exposed guitar that goes. I love that descending kind of guitar counter melody that goes into what is one of the best parts of the album, which is the outro of Exposed, where the vocals stop being annoying because there are no vocals besides woo. And I really love I just love the feel of that outro. And the drums come in and it's just like it's justice. It's so chill. It's fucking great.
It's a great feel. I like it. Yeah, it's kind of very Christmassy as well. I like that. I remember I did this kind of like Christmas lick with the keywords at one point that it's out of key, but it's just kind of funny. There's like one note that it's kind of harsh, but I like that.
It's a good outro. It's very chill. It's a nice sonic space at the end of the song.
Mm-hmm. Sonic Space.
Exposed. All right. Anything else?
Yeah. So the low. Another thing to criticize, but but the low end feels way too heavy as well. I think on this one. Oh, you froze. Oh, you're there again. Okay. Oh, I said that the outro was kind of Japanese.
Yeah, well, we got to think about what record we were. I think once I discovered it and sent it to everybody, I think we were really into Smoochie at this time, right? I mean, definitely into, like, I think everybody, you, Nelson, Andres.
Mm.
So that's at least 4 people that worked on the record. If you know. So Smoochie was a huge influence on this one. And also on a lot of your solo records too. I know that I was thinking about it a lot. Smoochie, for those that don't know, by Ryuichi Sakamoto.
The tango one is awesome. Beautiful songs. Now,
that record just is.
Poesia is great.
It's freakishly good. It's really good. Oh, you like some of the later cuts on the album? See, I'm more of the first half of that album is my vibe.
What are the first half? Because I remember what's the one that's two words are the same? I cannot pronounce that. It's Japanese. Ashiteru or something like that.
Mm-hmm. I think that means I love you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I like that one a lot. I think that's my favorite.
Beautiful record.
Any notes on Bad Musicians?
Well, I skipped a page, so I was like, what the hell is the next song? Bad Musicians is the next song. Really fun writing the lyrics of this one with you. I really liked that because it was our chance to kind of be self-referential and a little cynical and, have a little sass. Definitely, anytime we get to put a little sass in, I think we can do that very nice.
Yeah, it's very ironic. I like that. It's very self-creating in a way, but also not completely. I think we talk a lot about how we don't consider ourselves musicians, really. It's not like well, that's kind of like a technique that you I mean, it's kind of weird to call yourself a musician, really, because it's kind of like it's kind of like a technique. It's kind of like walking. It's kind of like you play an instrument or you you are able to sing or stuff like that, or you know something about theory or whatever. But it's kind of like it's only a tool to make art, really. Music is just
Yeah,
another gateway to make art.
but a
So
lot of people don't view it that way, and like everybody, as far as musicians go, like a lot of musicians use being a musician as an identity.
yeah, we talk about
And
that.
we talk a lot about that and how that maybe is a dangerous kind of trap to fall into because, yeah, you just start thinking really, really small when you're just thinking of your identity as a musician rather than like as a more broad artist. Um, and so like a lot of like what I've tried to instill in friends and family is that like for example if you're like really into jazz, like jazz is not a personality.
Mm.
No, it's not an identity really. It's a tool. It's a medium. It's like a way of expressing
Yeah,
in music. You know what I mean? And same goes for being a musician. It's not really an identity. It's not really a personality. You need to have more substance than just being a musician.
yeah. People need like a quick pitch to identify themselves and to tell people who they are.
It's
So
like
it's kind
saying
of
you're a
easier.
Republican or a Democrat. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's easier to say just one word or two
but
than
some say that saying you're just an artist is the same thing too.
it's
Just like
true.
Democrat.
Huh? What did you say? Last thing?
I said just playing devil's advocate.
Oh yeah, but it's obviously you're kind of like you're at a loss when you know try to explain who you are to people, because obviously there's there's never enough time. There's never really a clear mindset on one's part either to who you are. So you're always gonna go with a simpler version of that because it's quicker. You don't want to.
But this is also one of the reasons why I think I've failed a lot in my life, selling myself to people or selling, the idea of me to other people. Um, I'm constantly running up against that. I don't want to try to quickly explain myself to people because, like you said, there's never enough time. But I think people that do a lot better in life or like are more successful with business or the business of their art, if they're artists, are people that can quickly tell people a little bit about themselves and sell themselves and pitch what they're doing and are able to stomach like the summary of their existence quickly and get that out to people.
Exactly. Yeah. 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 I guess well, it's a good thing to be able to do. Definitely. I'm also not good at it.
I'm terrible at it. I've never been good at it, and I feel like it's caused me a lot of pain. um I think the mix on this song is just chaos. It's just so much percussion, as always.
Hmm.
But it
Yes.
fits the bad musician kind of narrative that we're going for.
I mean, yeah. In that song, you can do whatever, and you can justify it.
And my favorite moment of this track is when it goes, why should we listen to the noise? And then we did play some like avant-garde experimental dissonant shit, and then it like goes ding. I
Very
love
white.
that.
Yeah.
It's cool how we're playing with the music in the background, and then
Really.
kind of cleaning it up. And you said that lick felt like a YMO lick.
Very YMO. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. It's a cool arrangement. We put a lot of work to have a song not be like just a lead shit. You know what I mean? We really put a lot of work on the arrangements. There's always something interesting going on other than just the melody and the chords.
Yeah, no, this record flew by when I listened to it because it's packed. It's wall to wall with really interesting little elements, and I think all the collaborators that we had on this record added something and didn't just detract from it. I think like they were very carefully selected collaborators on this go,
Mm.
and we like waited a lot for people and for parts, and I think it was for a good reason. It was for a good cause, and it does feel like very intelligently put together record, if I do say so myself. Okay. Bad musician. Anything else? Good?
Good.
I said, do you ever just look at me and just like wonder like who the fuck is this guy? Like who? Because there's so much time in between our actually seeing each other like in person for real. Because I mean we haven't seen each other in person since 2018, and it's now 2022, and how insane amount of time that is. And like you're probably just like, what are all the times in between? Because like it's always a call, or it's always a Skype thing, or it's always just like stupid WhatsApp messages or whatever. Like it's never, you know what I mean? You're probably just like, what the, who the fuck?
Well, yeah, I guess we know more each other through the music than personally, right? I mean, and I think that's a very powerful thing, because we recognize in each other. We recognize each other in the music, I think, and we see ourselves in the music, which also makes also the art itself more about the art itself, more than anything else. I mean, if we collaborated and we, made each other, and then went to, to the pub, or went to the cinema or whatever, like it could be a very different thing, because we have, I guess, we know more of what we're doing and separately, and so it makes it maybe less of a surprise when we collab, and I send you this song about a dentist, and or it's like, what?
Something interesting about Trace is it's the record we made after we actually met in real life.
Exactly, that's true, yeah.
And so maybe it gave us a different, because we knew a little bit more about each other, because we had actually seen each other in three-dimensional tangible space, and perceived each other, and like touched I got to hug you and like meet you, and like see you face to face. It changes your perspective on a person. So it's like, regardless of a record that it was going to be different sounding anyway, and it was going to be like more thought out maybe, or just like a different approach, because our perception of each other had changed then from then on, that it could never go back, because essentially we knew each other in a more three-dimensional, tangible way. So,
well, I think that also made it so we were more lazy with the album, because I think from the moment we met personally on, we were always talking about, man, we should go to whatever place and record an album there, right? And see if we can record an album together in the same place. And so we had this idea in mind that felt a little bit more real than before, because we actually met. So I think it kind of was kind of defeating in a way to make this album online again, a little bit. Yeah.
It was. Well, I know we talked about North Africa. We really wanted to do a record there.
Marruecos.
Yeah, like just sort of arbitrarily, but also I think because we both have interest in that region.
Yeah.
And what were you going to say?
Well, that I feel like we could find value in any place, that has powerful music, and stuff like that, or powerful art. So
So it's true. I think you're right that it did feel like a defeat, because or like a failure, because we had met and we had made it more tangible after Illusions came out, and then we immediately had to go back to our solitary lives and fight through Trace alone. Even though we were together making it, I felt very alone making this record.
Me too. Yeah. I mean, I and for moments I think I kind of just went away like you did.
Sorry, I had to let the cat in.
Oh, good. But yeah, definitely. I think it was a struggle. It was a struggle. After meeting each other was more of a struggle. and I think that's what made it the last album, because
Yeah, I mean,
it felt more of a struggle than it then paid off in the
it was
moment. But
really
it's true that now listening, I think it did pay off. I think it's good. Sounds good. I like it.
it's a fascinating album. I really think it's fascinating, and it does sum up a lot of emotions and things that I was dealing with at the time, and still kind of like feel a lot of these songs, feel them for sure. So if we're gonna jump into Make Believe, I think that the transition from Bad Musicians to Make Believe is really cool. I actually replayed that transition of the end of Bad Musicians and into Make Believe. I feel like it works really well, and like it, you can feel the next song coming on, because like I know when I was recording with Jenny, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I got like some sounds of her just like laughing, like giggling in between, and I put that in, and you can hear it right as the song switches. You know that there's going to be a new voice or a new presence,
Yeah.
on the record.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a little like reminder of that. So yeah, I really love that transition. I think the song is really cool. The part where I say, sorry, the cat is meowing. The part where I say "what way" is just terrible. I hate the sound of the vocal on that. It sounds like complete garbage, but it's an interesting concept, like the call and response of that.
Yeah, I think I don't know what happened, that I made like a take, and then that part wasn't up to part or whatever, and so we decided to do that. But yeah, it's funny because I forgot this song even existed, which it's funny because at the time it was very. I remember how it really was a part of my life for a long time. A full year we were making this album. So I think it's cool. It has cool chord progression, and what do I say? So this song reminded me of how we do a lot of our songs follow a very strict pop formula, right? With an A, B, maybe a bridge or something like that. But all of them kind of fall into that, which I think is very funny because we get into very experimental sounds, but at the same time we keep that hyper pop kind of structure. And I think, well, I guess it's maybe too pop. It's even so pop that it becomes not pop because of how we like each section could be a curves. There's no clear choruses most of the time in our songs, I think, and so that makes it so that there's no clear moment where you're gonna be hyped or something about the song, or there's no moment. Normally in a pop song you have that kind of the verse where you're waiting and you're pumping up for the big release, and in our song it's kind of more of everything is kind of like that big release, in a way.
Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of that feeling just constantly happening. Talking about the recording of Jenny's parts, because so we had Jenny Lawless work on this record with us on this track, and I just like messaged her randomly on social media, and because I like heard some clips of her vocals, and I was like, damn, she's like really good at singing, and her like actual like music is really sick too. So I like listened to some of that, and then she got back to me, and I think I just went over there one day with like my recording rig, which is just like very minimal, and just to her apartment, and just like we'd never met, and I just immediately told her just just write a verse and then sing it, and she was a little nervous at first, but then she got into it, and she came up with that part, and I really think it's cool how it blends. It blends really nice.
Yes, it's makes it so it's kind of like a very classic pop, no classic love pop in the pop region. Classic classic love song, right? Where you have a dialogue in between the verses of two lovers kind of like having an argument or something.
Yeah, I wanted to do one like that for a while, and I wanted to do one like that with one of our records, so I was glad to do it on this song and on this record. I think it is a nice addition to this record. It flows really nice, and yeah, it's got a good feel. Anything else?
Well, I think it's a good love song because it goes deep into I think the hardest part of a relationship where you just it's very hard to deeply understand anyone. And as you just said, for example, of it asked me if I feel like I even know you at all. Being that we see each other mostly on the internet, but it's yeah, you're trying to make me conclude.
Oh no. Keep going.
But come on. Well, I'm rambling, but yeah, I think we go deep into the hardest part of a relationship and how it's difficult to understand each other. I don't know what else. I wanted to say something more meaningful, I guess, but just didn't come out.
Fata Morgana.
So you hated this song again, and so I remember you had a hard time finding the lyrics on it, so it just ended up not having lyrics. I think I didn't do anything on this track. This is the only track I didn't do anything at all on it. So
Nothing at all?
Nothing at all, yeah. I just gave you my opinion, I think, on it. This is the only track I did nothing on of all the records.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine, I forgive you.
Maybe that's why I hate it.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I like the tabla and sitar playing. I think that's incredible.
I'm glad this is an instrumental because it gives you a break from my terrible vocal mixing on the record. But it's a cool blend of instruments. So I got Andrew Tompton's interview, and he mentioned that he remembered that there was a version of this that we sent him as a demo that had lyrics on it and had vocals on it. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to hear it again, and so I have found it. And so I think something that we never even talked about, but I thought it'd be cool to talk about now, was that I think for the documentary that we're making about this record and about all the other records, that we will do either demos, or we will do a soundtrack album to the documentary, which will just be a collection of all the songs we talk about in the documentary. And
beautiful.
And I think it'd be cool. It'd be really cool.
Hell yeah, I have some backed up. Yeah. Some versions that didn't come through, like the all simultaneously one for some.
Yeah, I want to hear that. I think that would be really cool. For Fata Morgana, so the song was named after a film that Werner Herzog made, 1972. I don't think it was that early, was it? That's early. We should get. Jamie, can you pull that up? Werner Herzog, 1971. Movie about the desert, which is fascinating. I always thought the desert was interesting, and I think it's just like a really cool movie about mirages, and that's what Fata Morgana means, mirage, right? And is it Portuguese?
I think so. Yeah.
It's not Spanish, right?
No.
I think it's Portuguese. And the film has a Leonard Cohen soundtrack, so anyone who hasn't seen it should watch it because it's fucking awesome. But the song's got kind of a Halo soundtrack vibe to it, with the guitar that plays the melody that the vocals aren't doing.
Halo soundtrack?
Yeah, you know Halo? You know, like
the video game? Yeah.
The video game? Yeah, it sounds like that to me. Yeah, nice tabla from Paul. Talking about Paul, so Paul plays drums, but he also plays the tabla, Paul Westphal. And his, I never even really knew anything about the tabla until he brought the tabla to the session for Different Love.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if he played it on that session, but he had it with him because I remember he had like his whole car was just, the back of it was just full of like a drum set and like every percussion instrument known to man, and he brought it all on, and we used most of it on Different Love. That's why the progression is so crazy on Different Love. Mm-hmm. And but he was like the introduction. He was my introduction to Indian classical music, like truly, which I became then very passionate about, very interested in, because he took his tabla teacher was this guy Hindol Mujumdar from Calcutta, who would come to Milwaukee and had like a little tabla school there, and an Indian classical musical school, and classical musical, and they would do performances at this Presbyterian church in Milwaukee on the east side, and like kind of by the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, and I would go over there, and I would see Paul perform, and then at the end they would have all the masters play these beautiful raga vibes and like play just like deep into the night, and it was just like amazing because it was you're in a church, so it's like a sacred space, but also got these guys from India just like shredding, and the music is very like improvisational, so like it obviously appeals to me really heavily, and I literally could sit there for hours, and I did for hours just listening to these guys just playing and like communicating using music, and really fascinating that tradition, and we just sort of scratched the surface in this song just because we have a tabla and a sitar, but like anyone who hasn't checked out that type of music, you must. It's just an amazing world of music.
I think it might be more interesting live. I think that makes it very.
I have some records that are great, Indian classical record. In fact, I recently stole the name of one.
Yep.
Of an Indian classical record.
You stole it?
Just the title, because I thought the title was badass. Okay. Anything else to add about the song that you didn't play anything on?
Yeah, but I'm gonna keep it secret. I'm not feeling great because of that.
Yeah.
I'm sweating.
Why don't you take your shirt off?
Do you want to see me shirtless or something? What is this, man?
I think you're warm.
Is this called? Is this called? Do you have like secret intentions or something? Like, what's going on, man?
Tell me that you love me.
Exactly.
Love the chords in this song. They were so much fun to play, and yeah, we really got some good chords in this song. All thanks to you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So much fun. This song is just a classic. This was one of the first songs I think that I had brought to the table.
The melody, yeah, I remember I found it for your melody, and it ended up being very jazzy, like a lot of the album. And let me see. Oh yeah, so yeah, what I thought on this album, I'm reading the notes, but so I'm just reading the notes. I imagine how someone might react to finding this line, because I could be deeply intrigued to find such a smooth melody and chord progression, you know, but at the same time having it in a very lo-fi quality, which is very, it's kind of like weird because it's not like, for example, you know, R. Stevie Moore, where you have a very, you know, the song itself is, it's unusual, right? The song itself, it has a very, you know, interesting and weird arrangements, but this song feels is like a classic jazz song, you know, and but and at the same time it sounds so lo-fi. It kind of feels like if it was recorded in the 1920s and composed in the 1920s, you know.
I think there's something very interesting about the fact that we, as musicians, as artists, have always been like, fuck paying to record your music in a studio properly and like hiring people to engineer it and master it and mix it. We're going to fucking do it ourselves, and that's going to be part of the artistry, because I've always felt that way. I mean, the people we look up to are people like Frank Zappa, who generally did almost everything himself.
Yeah.
And it sounded great, though, because he had a lot of money, which we don't have. So, but, you know, like, it's true that, like, it would make way more sense for this album and for a song like Tell Me That You Love Me to be recorded, like, perfectly pristine in a studio. And yet, you're right. If you were to find it just walking off the street, no knowledge of us at all, you'd be like, wow, like, it's like a really good song. It's really decent, clean, like, straightforward song, but it's like just sounds so lo-fi. It sounds so shitty. Like, what were they thinking? Or like were these guys just?
It was recorded in 2019. What the fuck?
It's weird. It's definitely like a really weird space that but you're challenging people, I think, because you're challenging people whose interpretation of music is that if it doesn't sound professional, it's not good. You're challenging that because you're like, it doesn't have to, it could be an iPhone recording, but if the song was fucking decent, and I've always said you can't ruin a good song with a bad recording.
It's true, man. I believe that. I believe that because I enjoy songs that are badly recorded, and so I believe that deeply. Yeah.
I think that it will, like I said, we will look on this with kinder eyes down the road, because there is something about the production style that tells the story of the making of the record and tells a story about the people that made it and like what they were up against or what they fought through to make it. Because it's like, at the end of the day, it was going to exist regardless of if we recorded in a studio or at home or on an iPhone or, you know what, like in captivity. It's like we were going to make it.
And I think, well, that also makes it so, you know, so that a lot of people are going to just be very alienated from it. So I think only really people that are, you know, people that are able to appreciate the musicality of it are going to at least be intrigued by it. Doesn't mean that they're going to like it at all. But I think it makes it so the door, a lot of doors are closed.
Yep. A lot of people take one listen to the first like measure and they're just like, whoa, that sounds not good. I'm gonna turn that off.
Yeah. So I think it makes it so only people that are like are you know, they don't mind being you know, tortured a little bit, you know, to find gold. Only people, if they do find gold, because that's the other thing. A lot of people might you know, go through the album and you know, are people that torture themselves finding songs and finding very shitty recordings and stuff, and even with that they might not like it. So I think that's interesting.
I mean, if I'm going to get really honest, like when I listen to music, I don't like I like all types of music, like nicely recorded music and like lo-fi stuff. I usually only listen on YouTube and sometimes Spotify, right? But like I'll look for like deep cuts and like crazy shit on YouTube, right? Generally it's made a long time ago. I don't go on BANDCAMP and listen to music and like listen to like indie artists and like artists that are current now. Like it's rare that I'll go on BANDCAMP because like 9 times out of 10 you'll find like a band, like an indie band, where you're like, whoa, like okay, this is like really shitty recorded. These guys like just like doing what they can, guys or gals, whatever. But they the songs aren't there and the melodies aren't there. It's like
It's
not
you
there.
know, to find music, even, well, I guess when you're looking at music that, you know, has like 20, 30 years you know, age. I mean, at least there has been a little bit of curation before you encounter it. You know, as opposed to, you know, how in you know, new music, if you're trying to find new music, you're gonna just stumble upon shit after shit, and it's a very torturing process. And I think we are part of that, and we with this album we're torturing people.
um, so the bass on "Tell Me That You Love Me" it sounds amazing, but it's just so fucking loud. But I think that I did that on purpose because I wanted the vocals and the bass to be in a similar place because I wanted that groove of the bass to really because the I think it's just GA did like a like just very simple kind of drum. She did the drums because we wanted very simple drums on this track, and she just programmed a little kind of sound effect that became the drum, which now is a good time to talk about one of the most inspiring aspects of, or inspiring pieces of art that inspired this album, which was the band Lamp, the Japanese band.
It's true, yeah.
And we sent, I sent this record to them after we made it, and I think really, they listened to some of the songs and then they liked it. They thought it was
Yeah.
cool, and I told them flat out like a lot of these songs were really inspired by your production style and your songwriting style, like really tight songwriting style. Although their songs have a lot of sections, and these songs only have very minimal sections, but like, yeah, it's a very mysterious song.
Mysterious.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? Something to also mention is that my sister sings on this song.
Oh, forget about that. Yeah.
Which, yeah. So I thought that was cool. I don't even remember having her record on it. I must have just asked her to do it one day. But I
Hmm.
think there's enough elements in this song going on that I think I did a decent job with mixing all these different elements with, obviously the recording capabilities that we had, like, because there's a lot, and like I have no technical training as far as how to properly mix something, so I think I did a pretty good job. Also, I love the switch up on the final chorus where it's like, "Tell me that you'll never go."
Oh yeah, I remember doing that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we worked on the compositions. We make them be detailed. We make them be interesting and have different moments. Very classic you know, gadgets we used to compose and to make them fresh and to make them stay fresh. And then it just sounds horrible, so no one's gonna listen to that, to all the work that we put in.
It's really interesting. I think it's a lesson though because it's like it is a maturation of the songwriting process and the composition process.
Yeah.
But we still, I think, even today, you and I, at the time of this recording, still haven't matured to the extent where I think a lot of other artists, like who basically they have to, take a loss and go, all right, I'm going to go into the studio and I'm going to record this in the studio and I'm going to hire engineers and mixing people and mastering people and I'm going to just do it that way. That's a certain concession you have to make, and you have to just like be like, yeah, I'm going to do that. We have not reached that level yet, and it's just so interesting because like I I probably should have by now, but I don't like how it slows you down. I don't like how that makes you beholden to the energy of the studio, to the like having to pay to make something happen. I know that like everyone's like if you want to you got to pay to play kind of, pay to win kind of vibe, but it just feels like wrong intrinsically for some reason. Like so this really does get to the core of like still really fighting to make it sound as good as possible and you still come up short because you just don't have the gear and you just don't have the
Just don't have
technology.
gear, man. I mean, you cannot make like a good mix without a mixing table that's like 2 meters long. You know, you cannot.
Also, preamps. It's all about preamps. It's all about the gear. It's all about what you recorded it
How
on, what all your collaborators
all the
recorded it on.
wire makes it sound. You know, have a bunch of wires making the sound go to one place to the other, and it's you can never recreate that, you know.
Plus, we're recording, remotely, so we're sending things back and forth. So you could talk all day about the limitations and all the things that fucked up the sound, but at the end of the day, it's like you just have to make the art. That's all that fucking matters, I think.
Well, that's the thing. It's kind of like well, right now I'm actually thinking of if I, because I, for example, I had one experience in a studio recording one of my songs, and it was pretty much awful because it is a lot of the artistic intention. It's very hard. First of all, it's very hard to communicate, and it's very and so you're just at the hands of someone else that you don't even know.
And you're worried about the clock running down because you're like, shit, there goes another $300. There goes another $900.
Well, in my case, it was kind of like a contest. So you send the song, and if you're chosen, you're gonna record it. But it was awful, anyways. And it's very frustrating because they had like very good musicians record on it, but it's like they don't know the song really. They just come in, they have the chords and the melody, and that's supposed to tell them what the song is. You know what like and someone maybe tells them, no, play it more that way. What the fuck is that?
That's why bands are always freaky to me because it's like, how is everyone going to really have a good grasp on this? It's still just going to be Ringo just picks it up and just plays the drums on it after hearing it once. There's still always going to be one guy that isn't really fully involved in that process, and that's why it's like, I think we definitely take it upon ourselves to do as much as possible. But we did a lot more delegating on this record and had a lot more people fulfilling these roles. And I think this was like, if we were going to talk about us as like Steely Dan, this is like the most Steely Dan of a record that we got to. So yes, maybe it's to a certain extent not everybody knew every song, but maybe they did because they were recording a lot at home and they probably had time to do their parts. Because when you're at home, you have time, and you can just take your time and really get into the song and find exactly what you want to say with your part. Whereas like when you're in the studio, it's finite. You have only a certain amount of time.
Yeah, it's not a good work environment. It's not a good creative environment. I mean, if you go to the studio, I guess it is better to have everything just planned out, every part, every arrangement already, instead of having people just wing it.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, unless you're working with like really fire musicians that are going to be able to like really get the job done like on the spot. You got to have it planned out.
Yeah.
But I do think that this record, yes, it felt like a failure because we had to go back and do it at home. But it would be really interesting. As much as we talk about how shitty it would be to record in the studio, for all the various reasons, it would be fascinating to record it in the same place and maybe even in a studio because I just think we'd see the fruits of our labor a lot more because it would be like, damn, like it sounds good and it is good.
Yeah, that would be great. But we did record one song in the studio, in a studio.
Not on this record.
Studio. Huh?
And that wasn't really a studio.
It was kind of like a rehearsal space.
It's a rehearsal space that was gutted and turned into a studio, essentially.
Yeah. Well, a cover.
I wonder if we'll talk about that on the documentary. Do you think we will?
I mean, I started talking about it, but if you don't want...
Did you? Well, I'm just thinking because it's a cover, dude. And BANDCAMP is cracking down on covers now, and like all different services like YouTube, like they're cracking down on covers because like the people that made those songs initially, they want their money, man. They want their fucking money.
But it's not even on anywhere, right? Is it?
Not currently. SoundCloud still, you can get away with some shit on SoundCloud, but man, BANDCAMP is cracking down on covers, so I took all my covers off of BANDCAMP.
No way, really? Fucking hell.
Yep. He got bought out by some bullshit company earlier. Anyway, that is the end of Tell Me That You Love Me. in the realest sense.
Yeah.
Great bass line.
Yeah. You did a good job with the bass line, I like. And the lyrics.
The lyrics are good. I really had to work on the vocal on this one. I feel like to get some of those higher notes, I had to like really try. And I recorded the vocal like 3 or 4 times until
Okay.
I had one that I really liked. I wrote bass is so loud, and I wrote what was I smoking?
Well, I think that's funny. I mean, you know, so basically this song I made the basis of on Logic, right? And then
Yep.
you added the bass and you gave it a different feel. I really like that about this song, how it transformed with the bass, which, you know, I remember that I made this chord progression very kind of, it's kind of hard to pick up the key in most parts, and there's also a modulation happening between the verse and the choruses, and I thought that was very funny how you made the verse chord progression sound you tied it up with that bass line because it has very few notes in it, the bass line, and so it makes it so it's kind of like if the corporation wanted to, you know, just fly out there and fly around, and you just keep it tied to the center of gravity, the key center.
So I think I think with that being said, then it is, you know, a virtue that the bass line is so loud because it does give you something to focus on while that chord progression is flying like all over the place. Like it just gives you something to, yeah, to reiterate what you've said. But I you know, there has to be a reason why we made it so loud because it's just freakishly loud. I don't think a lot of the bass lines on this record are so loud. I think I would not do that nowadays. I wouldn't mix a record with the bass that present. I don't think anymore. I used to do it all the time because like I just fucking was like, yeah, the bass, ripping bass, man. Like fucking
Well, I guess
wanted everything to sound like the Clash or something.
yeah, it's easy to do that when you play an instrument. You know, you want it to be if you are happy with how you played it, you want it to be loud. I guess, you know, because you're just in the moment, you're happy how it sounds, and you're like, man, this is awesome.
Speaking
It
of
has
loud
to be loud,
bass,
huh? Exactly. That's right. Bases.
great melody. Andres' vibes are really chill. His little twinkle twinkle little star bells playing beep beep ding 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 bong ding bong. I remember that riff. Cool bridge. I get Burt Bacharach vibes from this song.
What?
Burt Bacharach.
I don't even know.
Oh yeah, check it out. Do I have any other notes from this song? No, I don't have any other notes from this song, so it's all you. Funky.
Okay. Funky. That was
Yeah.
the last thing. Yeah, it's really funky. I remember we started the process of making the album, caring a lot about making the lyrics meaningful together, and then I just abandoned the lyrics to Max, and for whatever reason I wasn't writing lyrics at the moment. And that's just what I said before, so that's awesome. So a long time has also passed. Okay, that I also said that about the albums. Planned after making what? Uh, oh my God, I said everything already. If the mix was better, I could listen to it way more often. Max's bass ties very distant chords. I already said that. And yeah, well, with this song, I remember I made, you know, the chorus is it's going in a kind of distant key, and I remember finding that just by composing with Logic, which I do very often. You know, I had kind of the idea. I think I remember I had the idea of the verse and then the idea of the chorus separately, just different songs, really. I was composing, and I remember I just made them tied up by like changing one chord. I remember I think I had in the MIDI keyboard, right? So I just transposed one chord to use as a bridge, like a step up or down, you know, like a tone up or down, and that's how it was made. And I think also part of the chorus was made like that, just going and copy and pasting chords, and I think it's an interesting way of composing, and I like that because you surprise yourself and you become less you know, more tied to how things sound in a way.
It's all about sound at that point, yeah.
Yeah, and it makes it so that you can surprise yourself, right? And it's a cool way of doing that. And I think, you know, it's kind of like how people say, oh man, you know, I'm tied up, you know, doing this type of chords and this type of melodies or whatever. But you know, nowadays it's so easy to just you know,
break out of that.
Yourself.
Yeah, you can break out of that so easily. I wish more people use just sound to create like their progressions. I think they'd be stronger than if you're worried about where they resolve or like what
exactly.
You know, like if they're logical. I hate that people are so focused on that because then everything sounds so formulaic, and it's like the easiest thing the easiest rule in the book to remember is to just break the rules.
Exactly. I mean, and I think chords, you know, it's a very it's kind of like a modern concept, and people don't realize how chords are just melodies. You know, a chord is just a set of notes. That's the most important thing. How notes move. You know, you don't. Why are you worrying about the functionality of chords? That comes, you know, if you want to do that, it comes after. But what a strong chord progression really comes from strong melodies. You want to have strong melodies all over your song. That's, I think, the most important thing. You want to be able to sing the chord progression.
Da, 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 da.
Every part of the song. If you can sing every part of the song and the song feels complete and feels good altogether, I mean that's a successful composition.
That's big shit right there. I love that. All right, in the realest sense. Anything else to add?
No.
What is that?
Like a pentatonic flute. It's
Play some.
Huh?
Play for me.
I haven't played. I don't know how to play anything. Only the Ennio Morricone. Nice. What is that? Is that your medicine?
Yeah.
What is that? Like algae?
Seaweed.
Yeah. Did you just did that straight up? You can do like microtonal shit. That's very cool. Huh? What? Yes, whiz? That's crazy. You're like a cow. Interesting. Oh.
So,
Are your teeth good?
no.
You have seaweed inside.
Damn it. I have seaweed in my teeth. One sec. I'm back.
Are we
Some
good?
way I'll say.
So I remember it was your song, a good ballad. I like it when the horns hit, and it might be one of your best ballads. I like it very much. The lo-fi quality also involves the MIDI sounds. I guess that makes it very lo-fi. MIDI sounds are unrefined, kind of like what you get when you get Logic. There's presets that come with Logic, and then the album sounds like a cheap MIDI sound that was recorded in the 1920s. And I remember Max being proud of this song and asking me if he should use it for his next solo record or add it to this album. And he ended up choosing to put it on the album. And I think we both were somewhat tired of the process of coming up and refining music together. Refining was the least fun part, and because of that, it suffered immensely.
Well said. I like the vocal atmosphere. I think is very nice. I remember recording in an empty room, I think, of the house, just very empty room, and I just had a microphone, and I was just recording with all the wood and all the walls. So I was getting a nice room sound, and for the guitars too, very emotional. I wrote in my notes, "Who the fuck makes music like this?" No one, in all caps. The song is faster than I wanted. I like the part where you go, Yahoo.
Cool.
Yahoo.
You do that?
Ooze,
Or do I?
I don't know who, somebody does it. I do it, you do it. The oohs, those are so nice. Those are so pretty. Nelson really killed it on this song.
Yeah.
So I don't remember the guitar solo. I didn't remember that there was a guitar solo at the end.
Well, I remember. Yeah.
And I love the guitar solo, and I think it's really sick. I think it's probably one of my favorite things about the album. And then the clarinet, I think, comes in at the end, over the top of it. I thought the guitar tone though was just sick. I think it's just a really interesting sounding. I love that outro of this song. Lots of space, I wrote.
Yeah, I like it. It's good.
That's all I have to say about it.
Well, I think there's something to say about maybe the way you do like these lash ballads. I guess there has been a few of those in the albums we've made together. There's always the lash ballad moment, and I like them. I think And I think you do them differently when you do them separately, which I find interesting because normally with this kind of song, I don't. Well, I might add some vocals or add some scenes on them, but I don't do that much. I haven't done that much on them. But it's funny because I think you make them flashier when in our albums than in yours. When you do the ballads, when you do the ballads alone, sometimes you might add like an electronic drum set or something, a drum machine maybe, like you make things that make it go away from the ballad. It's kind of like if you gave it more credit when it was on an album, on a collaboration album or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible that I try to take emphasis off the fact that it's a ballad.
Yeah.
Whereas like these, like I want these to be on the collaboration albums, like I want them to be more strict. Like, yes, this is a time where it's going to be a little emotional and a tonal shift, if you will. Whereas I like my records to mostly be very monotone, my solo records.
Why the difference?
I have no idea. I'd have to spend a lot of time thinking about it to understand it. I generally like my records to kind of just play, like my solo records just play very even, very straight. Generally, maybe it's because I want the overall message to be felt rather than just like different songs. Like I want the overall feel to be like one thing.
I get that, yeah.
I don't know. Some way I'll stay.
The search for something more.
You search for something more. So I love the intro of this song. I think the intro really is cool and interesting.
The keyboard thing.
The keyboard thing, if you want to know about that, sometimes when I plug in Logic, but I don't have any, or turn on Logic and I don't have anything plugged into the computer, I hear the onboard laptop microphone recording into Logic. And when you're typing, I was typing some notes or something, you can hear the clicking of the keys. One thing leads to another, and you're recording the clicking of the keys, and you're like making a connection to the search for something more being like a Google search.
Yeah. I think it was funny. It was kind of like one of those additions that you made in Different Love where you add the train, for example, right? Kind of like adding that kind of narrative as we mentioned before. Yeah, I like this song. I think it adds to the classic jazz vibe that it all has. All the song compositions are great, very very strong. It has kind of like a lo-fi punk. Yes, this song is it's very hard. It's very punchy and very jazzy at the same time, and it's very strict because this one was one of those that I had on my Logic, so it was very quantized. This song and also the distortion of the bass and the guitars and everything adds to the punkiness of the song, and I like all that kind of vibe, and but there's the sibilance again, and so that's kind of harsh, but it's true.
The title, you go.
No, you said
the title is The Search for Something More. This S, a lot of S's there.
A lot of S's, yeah, it's true. In this one in particular, which is a shame. But it's true that it had. I'm trying to remember what I was going to say. I kind of forgot. But you have any notes?
Yeah, I got tons. Great lyrics. I thought about how I started the recording of this song in Milwaukee. And then I moved to Los Angeles and recorded there, and then I moved to Minneapolis and finished it there. and how I had to do that for a lot of the songs on this album. So they were just like I was just moving around and just all these different mental states and like in literal physical states and like trying to um, keep the record going and keep it like alive and keep swimming and keep treading water with this. But yeah, you're right. The S sounds are just horrifying. I really think it's a classic song. The part where we go ooh on the first chorus gave me chills when I re-listened to it because I just thought it's so funky and sassy, and I really like that. When we sing the first chorus, we sound like one person, which I think it's like the best unison vocals probably we ever did.
It's true.
Like it's really close. The vocals are really close and really cool on that first chorus. The beat is really I must talk about because it's a very fat beat, and so we finished recording of this album in Minneapolis. At least I did, and I had Yoji Sarah play drums on it, who was the drummer in my band at the time. And he played this really fat beat on it, and I was very strict with the beats. And like we recorded for a long, long time, over and over, take after take, because I was like really specific about what feel I wanted for this song and how I wanted him to play the drums. And he delivered, and it sounds really, really sick.
Awesome. Yeah.
I was happy about it for sure. It had to be perfect.
Yeah.
I love the "if I don't see the blessing" line. I think it's so interesting because it's like you're punk and you're like cynical and angry and punk, but you're angry because you're angry at yourself for not seeing that it's like a gift to be alive. And I think that's like a really sick message.
Yeah, I guess there's well, I think for a long time I didn't even pay that much attention to the lyrics either of this song. I think there's
writing most of them.
What?
It's because I was writing most of the lyrics, so you probably were.
I remember how, for example, this song in the realest sense, I just kind of wrote them, kind of like instrumentals, and you then added the lyrics, and that's fascinating how that came to be, and I think that they sound very, very strong. It sounds very how it's supposed to sound.
This was us changing our collaboration style a bit because I don't think I had as much influence on this one or in the real sense with the music as much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, obviously things were added, but like as far as the actual composition, like you really had this. So this was our switching our style because usually our style is like 50% lyrics and 50% music on both. But here, I'm dealing with more of the lyrics and you're dealing with more of the music. And I like that we were playing with that towards the end of this album. In certain aspects, we were playing with how we're approaching the collaboration. You know what I mean? Who does what kind of vibe.
Well, that's not completely true. I think there's a lot of of the albums. There's a lot of songs that is just either you or me on the composition, and then the lyrics might be half and half. But there's a lot of them that are not 50-50. I mean,
it's a mixed bag, is what I'm saying. But here's an example. Here's an example of that happening.
Okay. I buy that.
I like your robot voice. It's so nice at the end where you're just like saying the search for. Oh.
I was doing that voice, and at the same time, I didn't kind of like pitch down effect, but doing the voice as well.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Anything else to add about the search for something more?
No. It's good. It's a good song. It's really. Oh, I did want to say that with the you're expectant. So what I wanted to say is that the headphones really play a lot of there's a lot of importance of what headphones do you use, or what kind of device do you use to listen to this album, because if you use like kind of like Apple inside the ear headphones, you're gonna be dying the whole time. If you use like more like kind of broadened kind of like bigger headphones, the bigger the headphone, the best the experience you're gonna have listening to the album. You know, this is just for people that might want to venture into it. And if you have speakers, that's the best option, because then you're not gonna have the kind of the ASMR experience of silence in your ears trying to kind of rob you of frequencies for your whole life. So
Yeah, the album was mixed on Apple headphones by me. So who knows? I can't hear shit. I don't know what it sounds like.
Well, we talked about how we were losing frequencies, right?
Yeah, I think Bad Musicians was almost going to be, or actually one of these albums was going to be called Bad Frequencies. I don't know if it was this one. I think Trace, the working title was Bad Frequencies.
Oh, it's true. Yeah. We were talking about Bad Musicians, Bad Frequencies. True.
Bad Musicians, Bad Frequencies. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Okay, wait.
You had it before. What did?
No, man.
Yeah.
Is that better?
That's nice. Dramatic. Yeah, I love that. Soul of the Sun.
Yeah.
Cool intro.
I hated the song. I hated
You hate it?
song. I hated it. When we made it, I hated it, and I remember it was a struggle to compose it.
I like it. It's sweet. It's a sweet song. It's cute.
But that's the thing. I hated it, but now I do see a lot of redeeming qualities of it. Unlike my lighting right now.
What qualities do you see?
Well, so this is awful. Man.
It's just so harsh. Maybe put like a shirt or a sock in front of it or something.
And produce a fire in my home. What the fuck is wrong with me? Fuck.
That's good. That's good.
Like a flare effect, like a filter,
warm.
Instagram filter.
Warm.
Worm.
Now it's cold.
No, it's cold. Sure. Interesting. Okay, so Soul of the Sun. It felt so repetitive when we were. I remember I had like a very tiny idea, and I sent it to you, and you liked it, and then we tried to make the full song, and I remember how horrible that process was. I remember I couldn't find how to continue the fucking song. I felt horrible. I felt like it was just a fucking nightmare of a song that couldn't go nowhere. It kind of felt like a repeating loop, it felt good repeating, but it didn't feel good going anywhere else. And and it was a very tiny loop as well, of like 6 chords or something, but awful. And the melody was very simple, which made it worse, made it more easily repetitive and not additive. And so and then I listened to it and I'm like, man, this is awesome. I liked it.
This is actually pretty awesome. Ted's bass part, we did in like one take, I think, because I was living with Ted at the time, Ted Olson, and I was just like, oh, I'm making this record. Would you quick throw some upright bass on it? And he was just like, sure. And he literally like was on his way out the door like to a gig, and I was like, can you just? And he grabbed his bass and he just walked into the room where I was recording, and I had the mic ready for him. Put the ears on him, and he just like started playing, and it like really lifted the song, and I think he put exactly what I wanted, something like that. Such a fine musician.
Incredible.
Really love playing with him. Nice arrangement overall. I think all the instruments really accentuate. I think this was another song that, or one of the songs that Aya Akura did piano on.
Incredible cues. Incredible cues. Awesome.
Just so good. I mean, she's really talented too, and ding, 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 ding. She's like that. You know, just really cool stuff that she was doing.
It really helped the song greatly. Made it work very nicely. And it has a very bossa feel. It's a great bossa feel. It has a nice bridge. The bridge works nice.
Yep.
And yeah, it's good. It's good to see how such a painful process it ended up being good. I couldn't listen to the song.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry but it's taken some time. It's got a kind of a Disney vibe.
Yeah, it kind of has. Yeah, kind of like
Under the Sea.
Huh?
Under the Sea.
Yeah.
With the part where we go to the falsetto, where we're like, I don't actually remember what part it is, but we go falsetto in the second verse, and I think that part is really sick. It sounds awesome.
I forgot about that, but
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I trust you on that. I don't remember.
I heard a dog outside howl.
Damn. Interesting.
Anyway, that's Soul of the Sun. Do you have anything else to add about that song?
Nope.
Sing with me, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm riding on
and moving on. I'm staying strong. I'm riding on. And then what?
I don't know the lyrics of this song, to be honest, but it's a great song. Nice vibe. The vocals are bad, I wrote.
Yeah. Well, I liked, there was like a very distinct yeah on the song. Like a very low yeah. And I like that. I don't know why.
We go low because we go into the dawn.
Yeah. Yeah, the melody on that one, that's very funny. I remember, so I wanted to do like a bridge or like a way to make it ease back. The chorus is back. Isn't this back? Isn't in? How do you say that? I wanted the verse to ease back to the verse, to the second verse, and so it's just I added this variation of the melody, but it just goes so low suddenly. So we just I remember I just couldn't sing the last note. I just did like
you're singing it now.
Dawn.
Sing
Man, I'm fucked up. Dawn. No, let's listen. Dawn. Dawn. Dawn.
The men's choir. Love the drums on this song because they have that really sort of just like shitty lo-fi sound, but they're really solid. They're right in there. They're right where they need to be. And I said mix is pretty good. Mix is pretty good.
I think it's the most the easiest to listen to.
Good bass line.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, so this was kind of like another one where you had the first melody, and I found chords for it, and so I also wrote down that I was kind of like at this point I was kind of like tired of listening to jazzy harmonies, because the full album is just I think it's too jazzy, man. I'm kind of like, oh.
We were in a weird place, both. I think as writers, I think we were in a weird place. I don't know what we were listening to or consuming or what we were thinking, making music that sounded like this. But I was trying to make this song fucking like a country song.
Yeah.
Right? No.
Sure, but it sounds.
Oh boy.
Has too many.
Huh?
I
was trying.
Well, whatever you did, it didn't work.
Well, fuck. I wrote, most people don't make music like this. And I also wrote that the timing is really quite decent on this album as far as the actual tempo and timing of the
I think we
playing
did
and the song.
BPM on this one. We did a lot of BPM.
Did we?
Yeah, most of them.
It was quantized too, some of this stuff.
Yeah,
I wrote triumphant, exclamation point.
it is. It is.
And I was going to tell you the story of when I first listened to the album all the way through after we released it. So, I recorded this record in Milwaukee, Los Angeles, and Minneapolis, respectively, while I was living in all those cities, and you recorded in Madrid. So it was recorded in 4 different cities. More than that, actually, because of all the collaborators and wherever they were living, sending parts. But as far as what we were doing, and then so I was in Minneapolis, and I remember I went to LA for like a short trip, and I was staying in Santa Monica in an Airbnb that was down the street from the beach. And I remember that the moment I went from the airport to the Airbnb to check in and like get the keys and everything, get in there, and then I immediately, without doing anything else, I had just gotten into town, like and I hadn't been there for a little while, and I was living in Minneapolis and kind of depressed and not happy about that. And I immediately, so I was in LA, I was in Santa Monica, I was in the Airbnb, and I just immediately walked down to the beach. I put my headphones in, I took my shoes off, put my toes in the sand, looked out at the ocean, and I started the record on all simultaneously, and I just immediately started to cry. And I just cried and listened to the whole record right there in the ocean, or in the sand, looking at the ocean. And I really felt proud about the record because I fought through it, because we fought through it, but I also felt that failure too. I felt the feeling of defeat after making this record and laboring so hard and for it to sound only as good as we could make it. And like it still felt like, even though the record had just come out like that day, I feel like that day it came out, I was like really depressed about just like, no one's going to hear this, no one's going to care about this. But it was like it was a multiple feeling, like a really proud because we worked so hard, and really depressed because no one's going to care or hear it. And so like I had conflicting, but I also felt gratitude because like I was sitting there on the beach and like looking out at the ocean. It's crazy. What are your thoughts?
Well, so I have that. It kind of like well, I felt like I guess when I listened to the whole album, it felt unfinished. I don't know, when I just listened to the last track, I felt kind of nauseous, kind of like if I went on like what is this called, you know
Ferris wheel?
yeah, or something like that. And and it kind of like if it needed to go somewhere else, but it just went around and it didn't have a conclusion, a solid conclusion, I think. And oh my God, I went dark on the notes here. So, just sounds. It's just on a standards album that sounds bad. That's what I. So I say good standards, but standards after all, meaning boxed songs, which what I meant, just very strict, very tight, and there's a lack of free range creativity in this album.
Yeah.
And I think it's the good qualities come from the craftsmanship, maybe, of composition, and but it lacks magic in certain moments, and so. And then I said that I just couldn't stomach the listening to the instrumental right after. I felt like I needed a break after listening to the album.
Yeah. I think that You're right. I think that it does feel like very boxed and it was a very conscious effort to make the most streamlined sounding record, even though it still doesn't sound like that because it's just so much bad production all over the place. It was like an attempt to like make something like that was really like easily palatable for a wide audience. There's no song on this record that's like really dark. There's no like really dark song. Like the first two albums have some pretty dark themes and ideas, and so that part of that incomplete feeling that you feel um, comes from not getting to go to those dark places, which I know you and I can go to very easily in our songwriting and in our music, and we didn't get a chance to do that. So it does feel very like just like one type of song or one type of idea over and over again. Um, yeah, I think it was. I think the reason that it's good that we stopped here and didn't try to like bang out another record right away is because we would have been trying to, I think, make music with the wrong intentions.
Definitely.
The intention wasn't about, and I think part of the reason I was crying there that day on the beach after hearing it after releasing the record was because it felt like we worked really, really hard, probably harder than we did on the first two, to make something that was way more labored and way more like synthesized and manufactured to be a certain type of product. When it's like way better for us as artists and musicians and creatives to be more experimental and to like let things come more naturally and to not be so rigid in our approach, especially my approach, because like I said, I was really anal about the lyrics and about a lot of what was happening with like beats and melodies and like um, the arrangement and like contribute people that were contributing on the record. Like I was like, way more anal, I think, and it just ended up being a lot more like just felt like tighter. It didn't feel as loose, and it's so this record and Different Love are the complete opposite. I mean, they're just so different, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that's what makes them the listening experience so different as well. And I think we that's what makes it so, I don't know, it makes it very unsatisfying because, or I don't know how to say that, but it makes it so that there's no satisfaction when, or not a lot of satisfaction when I listen to it, because we were trying to be palatable, and that made it so the process wasn't enjoyable, and at
Yeah,
the same time we didn't achieve that goal that we had of it being palatable. So it felt kind of like just a loss.
it's a loss. It definitely, I think, it's a loss, and I think but at the same time, there is a great lesson learned, and I think the next record I made after this record, do you remember what it was called?
No,
It's called Learning from Failure.
it's true, man. I like that one. There's some great songs on that one.
Thank you. So that was like the immediate reaction to Trace was I need to make, and it was, but that failure was multiple different things in my life and different things I was going through, but also making Trace took a lot out of me and it made me sad. And so like, that's why making a documentary with you now is very fascinating because it's like, it's giving me, I think we're finding new ways to collaborate and work together that isn't just music, but yet we're still honoring the fact that we have poured hours and hours into the music and the creation of the music.
Yeah, I think it makes it so, it makes it more redeemable. It makes it so that yeah, we have a chance of I guess exploring and trying to put out the all the passion that we had making the albums, making the music, and that we still have, the passion of creating things, and I think it needed to continue. In a way, it didn't feel, as I said, when I listened to the album, it felt like it didn't finish quite well. It needed another resolution, and so I think it's good that we continued, and that you called me, and you had the idea of doing the documentary.
Trace is kind of us not being ourselves, really. I don't feel like it really is us. it's not our personality too much in music. I mean, it is, but I think if we were to make a record, another record again, it would have to be more experimental and be more free and more loose.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like I think that well, after we made Different Love, we went into this kind of I guess we were too easily affected by the resolution, the outcome of how people receive the albums. And I think that's a wrong approach. We gave it too too many calls, too many. We talked too much about it. We were very centered on how they didn't do anything, and in a very weird way where we were trying to convince ourselves that we were fine with it, saying that talking about it ironically, and saying that we were it's like obviously it's not gonna do anything, or things like that, where
at the same time too, like that we were saying things like that to ourselves to make ourselves feel better and like keep our confidence up. We were trying harder than ever to make the songs more palatable, which I think is an interesting there's a little bit of a dissonance there. There's a little bit of a disconnect between the two ways of being. It's like that's why I've had such a hard time in my early years of making music with like all the pop music that I wrote and recorded, because it's like it's like you don't care about success, but then why are you making songs that you are hoping would be successful because they're easily understood or easily listened to because they're pop format. So that's why I've really started to abandon a lot of that.
Yeah, I think that I guess also the collaboration. I guess I don't know what happened, but I guess in the beginning we were more eager and we were more confident maybe about our creations. Right? I think that as we went on, we started. I think that's why we tried to be more palatable, because we thought that there had to be something intrinsically wrong with our music for it to have an audience.
I think the only reason anybody ever really tries super hard, like to make something like easily palatable, is that they're trying to fulfill like that void, like feeling like they are not good enough, so they want to like really work really hard. That's like for example, like a guy who like really is like got a crush on this girl, but she's like out of his league or something, and so he goes to the gym and he like does a million pull-ups and push-ups or whatever, tries to lift a bunch of weights and get strong, and then like tries to get a great job and like tries to do all these things, but he's not doing it for himself. He's doing it for that girl that he's trying to get.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. Like you should, if you're gonna do that kind of stuff, you should do it for yourself. And like, and at the same time, maybe we did do some stuff for ourselves too. Like we learned how to write different types of music.
I think that that's inevitable. I mean, it was all just trying to be palatable and stuff. I mean, that would be horrible. But obviously, we have we do have things that we want to express out. I mean, it's not like we are completely.
Yeah, it's not all just for somebody else to appreciate.
Obviously, and I think even if we had that mindset when we worked. When we did the work, we did find ways to sleep in our own our own expression. I mean, because if not, it could have been just a completely joyless experience.
It wasn't completely joyless.
It wasn't. It had a lot of moments of joy, and I'm coming around. Oh. No, but it's true, man. I mean, I've been like with all the Skype calls, I've been just absolutely dark, and and moody, but or ironic and cynical. But it's true, man. I mean, I really nice. Is that gonna show up on the video?
I don't know. I doubt it.
Well, but I love it. You know, it was a great experience to do those albums, all of them.
Learning process, learning experience.
Yeah, it's still the best one. I think is Different Love, the one that I enjoy most listening to. I mean, that's the purest one. It feels just like playful and beautiful.
Isn't that crazy though? The first one is the best one, and the other ones are just a bunch of shit. They're sequels, man. It's never worth it to do sequels.
There's some truth to that. I mean, it is true, man. I mean, that I think that's very natural for that to be that way.
The best Beatles album isn't the first Beatles album.
Well, because they didn't start with how we started, you know.
They didn't start with Different Love. They didn't fucking make Different Love for their first album.
Yeah.
If they had, they could have just given up. They could have just stopped. They'd be like, well, made the greatest album ever made.
What?
Different Love.
What are you talking about, dude? Anyway. No, but they started as like a marketing band, you know, as like they wanted to sell. That was their first album, so only when they had, you know, that's the thing. We started very fresh with nothing, no intention. Well, we might have had our intentions, but I guess we were confident enough to think that what we had to offer was good enough.
I just wanted to be creative with and make music with another creative person.
I think that was the most exciting thing about the first collaboration, because, you know, I you know, at that time I didn't know anyone.
We have to understand I was testing you too, because like I know certain like things that I would add would be like really out and like really experimental, and I was like seeing how far you would go with me, and like if you would be like into this things that I was adding. Like that's how, like, I love doing it. I love testing my collaborators and seeing like if they are willing to follow into these crazy dark pathways, and like sometimes people can't go the distance, and then it's like it fizzles out really easily. But you were with me, right with me with every kind of crazy thing I wanted to do.
Yeah. I mean, and likewise, you know. I mean, I don't think I could have found, because it's interesting, because depending on the collaborator, maybe they like more of a weird thing, or maybe they like more of a, you know, but they if you get out a little bit of that kind of thing, that 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 kind of style, you know, it feels like it's not as well received, and that makes it so that, you know, it's not as enjoyable. You know, it's good to play around. You know, I that's very enjoyable to just play around without you know, like a concrete final you know, resolution that you want or something.
Yeah, it's never good for an artist to be doing anything out of fear. It should always be playful. It should always be experimental, and artists are supposed to play. They're supposed to explore.
Definitely.
And we're at our worst when we're not doing that.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I feel down. I feel without energy.
It's okay. We got a long way to go. I mean, you know, there's a lot more music to make. There's a lot more visual art to create. There's a lot more films to make. You know, it's just gonna. You just gotta keep going. You just gotta keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I love it, and I think right now I'm in a moment where I really, you know, because I'm studying music, I'm thinking more about, you know, how about the how, you know, how I'm so not interested in the business side of things, like how and how, when I got into the school, and I saw the people that were way more versed in that world, and they were way more successful in in
The
those
business
terms.
side.
Yeah, yeah, and they seem to know how to handle that, even emotionally, and you know, and so and I remember how I was very envious, was very extremely envious of that, and because I didn't even understand how someone could be that way. How could you do that? And so, but now I'm kind of leaving it, and I'm almost about to graduate actually, and I feel like there's no point. There's really no point. I guess I started with the question: is it just that I'm not? Is it that I'm just being indulgent? Is it that I'm being just not realistic enough with myself? What is it? Why is it so hard for me to try to seek validation when I make art? Why is it, like if it was something wrong with me, really? And then I'm leaving really thinking that there's no point in making anything. I mean, and it's not like I didn't know this already. There's no point if you're just making it for someone else or whatever. But it's just like there's things that you only know when you experience them. There's things that there's no uh, like value in just the words themselves. The words have no value. You just have to really experience things to really try to get any gist of them, try to get any learning from anything like that. And I don't know. I guess it's hard. It's hard because you just it's normal to fear for your own life. If if you really want to dedicate yourself to the art you make, it is. I mean, because you have to contend with these kind of thoughts. I mean, if not, what is it going to be? I don't know.
It's tricky, especially when you're, like you said, delving into the business side of music or the business side of art making, and that's something I also struggle with. I have no idea.
I have no idea either, man. It's awful.
On that note, Trace.
Okay.